Hi, in this video we're going to look at now sketching quadratics, and I've said we're going to do it by factorising. Now we're just focusing on quadratics that are in normal multiplied out form, like a trinomial or difference to squares or a common factor. I am not looking at the completing the square forms just now in this video. So when sketching a quadratic, we need to have a couple of things you need to be aware of. You need to have the right shapes. You need to make sure you're 100% sure whether it's a smiley face. Remember, it's a smiley face if it's a positive x squared, and it's a sad face if it's a negative, so a minus x squared, okay? You then also have to clearly label your roots, the turning point, and the y-intercept on the graph to get the full marks. Okay, so the first one we're going to draw is a graph of x squared minus 14x plus 0. So to get the roots, or the zeros are sometimes called that, is putting y equal to 0 and factorising. So if y is 0, that means you have got x squared minus 14x plus 40 equals 0. Putting that into two brackets, numbers that multiply to 40 and add to 14 are 4 and 10. And they both have to be negative. You then solve each of them equal to 0. And that gives you x equals 4, x equals 10. So in the moment, I'm going to decide my shape. Because this is positive x squared, I know I've got a smiley face graph. So I'm going to draw that first. Then I'm going to put in my roots. And I'm going to say, well, they were 4 and 10. So that was 4 and that was 10. So my y-intercept is probably way over there. I'm just going to alter the shape of my graph a wee bit to make it a bit nicer. Okay, happy with that, what I've done? So I've drawn a smiley face graph and I've drawn in my roots are 4 and 10. Okay, next thing I need to do is my turning point. Now your turning point happens bang in the middle of 4 and 10. Now, two ways of doing that. You can work out, well, 4 to 10 is a gap of 6, half of 6 is 3, so the middle's 3 away from each of them, which is 7. Or the other alternative is you do 4 plus 10 is 14, half it also gives you the 7. So I know my turning point is 7 something. So that means you're replacing x with 7. So you do y equals 7 squared minus 14 times 7 plus 40. Now that is 49. 14 times 7, you can either, I don't know if you'd ever calculated this one, it's 98 plus 40. Now, if I do the add first, that's 89 take away 98, so 49 take away 98 plus 40 is minus 9. And that matches the picture because I do have a negative bit for the y-intercept, for the turning point. So the turning point is at 7, negative 9, and I just draw that on there like that under the turning point. And the last thing to get is to get your y-intercept. Now, your y-intercept is when x equals 0, because any coordinate on your y-axis is along nothing, up something. So this is when we put in x equal to 0. So if you go back to your original equation and put in x is 0, remember that will give you 0 squared minus 14 times 0 plus 40. So really it's just a number bit at the end. So your y-intercept is 40, and I'm just going to label it on that side because that's all I've got room for. So there's my diagram. Smiley face, roots at 4 and 10, y-intercept at 40. I technically don't need that 7 in there. That's what we need to draw on the diagram, okay? Second one, we're going to sketch 21 plus 4x minus x squared. Now, the first thing to notice is because that's a negative x squared, I know I've got a wee sad face one on this one, okay? Now, your roots are when y equals 0. So I'm going to put that equation equal to 0, but I'm going to move everything to the left-hand side and turn that into a positive x squared. So that gives me positive x squared minus 4x minus 21, all equals 0. Now, into two brackets, numbers that multiply to 21 are a 3 and a 7. And to make negative 4, it's going to have to be a plus with a 3 and a negative with a 7. Solve each of them equal to 0. That'll give you x equals minus 3 and x equals 7. So I've got a sad face. I'm going to draw in my axis. So my roots were at minus 3 and 7, and that means that my y-axis needs to go closer to the minus 3, so there is my y-axis. Apologies, I'm not using straight lines, I really should be. Okay, next I need to get my turning point. My turning point occurs bang in the middle of minus 3 and 7. Now from -3 up to 7 is a gap of 10. So half of that is 5. So I need to know the number which is 5 away from each of them, which is 2. Alternative, remember I said you could add -3 plus 7 is 4. Half it is 2. So that's the 2 ways to get the middle. So my turning point is at 2 something. So I'm going to replace x with the number 2. Now I put this back into the original equation, okay? So I've got 21 plus 4 times 2 take away 2 squared. If I didn't put it back into the original one, I would end up with a negative value. So if I had to put it back into here by accident, I would probably come out with a negative value, which wouldn't suit my picture. So yeah, I'm going to put in the number 2. So that gives me 21 plus 8 take away 4. So that's 29 take away 4 is 25. So my turning point is at 225. So up here, I'm just going to label that as 225. And it matches my picture, okay? And the last thing to do is get your y-intercept. And remember, that's when x equals 0. So y equals 21 plus 0 minus 0 squared. So y is just 21. So your y-intercept is 0, 21. And all you have to do is write the 21 on the y-axis next to your y-intercept. So to recap, we knew it was a sad face. We marked on our roots. We put on a turning point and then we put on the y-intercept. Now I've kind of found the order I do it in definitely helps with the picture as well. And you might want to get all the information and then draw the picture. But out of habit, I sometimes see people draw the picture and try and make it fit the numbers, and I end up with these horrendous looking shapes. So I think it's easier to draw the shape first and then build around from there. One more example. This one we're going to draw x squared minus 6x. So our roots or our zeros are when y equals 0. So you've got x squared minus 6x equals 0. Common factor this time gives you x take away 6 equals 0. And if you solve both of those bits equal to 0, you get 0 and you get x equals 6. Now, it was a positive x squared this time. Positive x squared meant a smiley face. So I've got a smiley face. My roots are at 0 and 6. Now, one of my roots is 0, so that's my y-intercept as well. And obviously, if you put 0 into there, if you put in x is 0 into that, you end up with y equals 0 take away 0, which is just 0. And you can clearly see it. So your y-intercept was the origin in this case. Right, the last bit to do is get my turning point. Bang in the middle of 0 and 6 is an easy one. It's 3. So I'm going to sub in the number 3 for my x. So y equals 3 squared minus 6 times 3, which is 9 take away 18, which is minus 9. So your turning point is 3 minus 9. So that's all the information you need there. You need the shape, the roots, the y-intercept, and the turning point labelled. So I've got 6 for you to go try yourself. The only one I didn't do one like was number 3. Number 3 is going to be a common factor and a difference of 2 squares. So have a wee try at these. The answers will come up once you've unpaused it. Now my answers have got extra information. They've got all the bits labelled as coordinates. For example, now I was labelling mine as just maybe 3 and 5. They've got it labelled as 5, 0 and 3, 0, but that's just because of the software I was using to get your answers, so don't be put off by that. I wouldn't write them as coordinates, I would just put the numbers next to the bits on the graph. So have a try, good luck. Here are your answers to the first 4 and your answers to the last 2. So good luck with these, okay? Obviously there's extra numbers on my x and y axis, but they shouldn't really need to be there. Thanks very much.